So I figured out something. I figured out something to change in pace. And excuse me, I have cotton mouth. I need to drink something badly, but I am going to stick it out here for a little bit. But I wanted to talk politics. Fuck yeah, let's talk politics, man. I haven't talked politics, and oh man, so just it's been a long time. So, politics, right? So from my perspective, um, um, when election time came near, man, it just I said that like doing business is just like a way of life. Well, the elections altered that way of life for a blip. You know, I could see where the entire experience is just a good thing for everybody. I don't even know what, Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna just kind of crash course, right? So I started off essentially my adulthood started with the Bush administration, and so I think this is important too. So I've recently went in and read some of the language that is in this piece of legislation that I'm going to share. I think it's important, right? So, and it's like, so it's important because we need to be able to examine the language from we don't want to come from a state of aggression, right? So we don't want to allow aggression to get in the way of anything. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. This is just me interjecting as I'm talking. I didn't plan on talking about any of this, but excuse me. All right, politics, right? So Bush administration, and I won't talk badly about that anybody. Like, so can I look at it? Can I examine any of it? And based on the examination, is it possible to kind of pull like a lot of fucked up shit? Of course, man. There's a lot, and there's so much of it that it's hard to say who's who at times. So when I speak of the Bush administration, man, I can't help but think about just like, so what some of the security, the real security risk, what some of that shit look like, and it's like, who even fucking knows? It's wild, man. It's crazy. So that administration was so hardcore, man. And I say that because, man, they were the elite of the elite. And a lot of them came from staff, like lifetime staff type positions, right? So essentially, like a staff type position, right? So we could say that this is the deep state, right? So and that's a person who's positioned himself within this within this economic model. They've positioned themselves to be able to extract wealth, essentially, from the collective body. There's all kinds of rules and there's all kinds of ways of looking at it, right? So, back during the Bush administration, I didn't really think about any of it. So we can say that, when I went right into the workforce, I didn't think about terrorism. I didn't think about any of that shit. Even after 9/11, right? So I've seen 9/11, right? I've seen it on TV and shit. live as it happened, right? So it was fucking crazy. I was at work, and it was just crazy, man. You know, it was a defining moment in my life for sure. There was definitely you know, and oh man, so so Bush, you know, I could see where, man, his administration was so stacked full of fucking just I don't know, the elite, you know, and it's like, man, is it that those guys found themselves in those positions because of like how? And it's like, so and then I got to thinking, I was like, I wonder if President Bush, I'm referring to him, past tense, it's like, I wonder if those were his actual picks, if he was the one that was ultimately like saying, all right, man, this is who I want, you know. So Dick Cheney, you know, so Dick Cheney is a, you know, so Dick Cheney, I use, you know, so in relation to, you know, especially if I want to just bring into like what I would say would be, like the demeanor, like, so the demeanor of President Bush is like, he was fucking awesome. He was awesome. So he was happened like to find himself, you know, where he was positioned. Like, we're talking about the real queen was still in the mix. She was a sovereign. She could do whatever she wants. And I'm not saying that in any regard. I'm just saying that as a matter of fact. At least that's how I've, you know, that's the, you know, she was the universe played out in a way with this particular alignment of whatever the bodies which was able to, you know, produce you know, these things that when collectively combined, you know, we could just like, I can see where, you know, it's, so I don't want to get off track here, right? So he was on the world stage for sure, right? Yeah, Condoleezza Rice, she was hardcore to me, man. She just was fucking hardcore. Condoleezza Rice was hardcore. And then you had in the best. Okay, so from let's say you're a politician, and right now I'm referring to this said politician as being hardcore. When Condoleezza Rice, man, at least that's how they portrayed her in the media, man. And she was, you know, she was just I can't even give it the proper language. I can't. I'm sorry. So again, I'm gonna just get back to like Dick Cheney, right? So Dick Cheney, all in his he brings with him essentially the entire. He brings with him the entire, you know, the embodiment of this thing, like the actual inner things that were in constant motion to make the work, right? So these guys were in the mix. Excuse me, with President Bush, and you know, and then we had you know, whatever happened, you know, so the 9/11 crime, whatever it may be, I don't know. And then it's like from there, man, it was fucking wild. It was wild. It was so wild, man. All right, so right immediately, well, as it's happening, man, where they get hit with like, okay, so the male gets the male. This is just what the narrative pumped out for me, right? So they were circulating anthrax. Okay, so they were targeting politicians via the mail system by putting anthrax inside letters that were mailed to politicians. Like, that's going on at the same time as like right as this shit's going down, and it's just crazy. And so at least as far as I mean, how I've, you know, how it's been interpreted to me, that was one of those things that just went away. The anthrax whole deal, it went away quickly. I can just see where it just didn't fit into the narrative. Now that's not to say that it wasn't a part of the narrative, because of course it was, you know, and that's not to say anything other than just that it was part of the narrative. And you know, so it's like within this narrative, and I'm referring. Okay, so I'm going back to George W. Bush, that administration. Just those guys were powerhouses, right? So the defense secretary was Donald Rumsfeld, who was an absolute, like, you know, he came from the, I believe he was like a CEO for like the pharmaceutical industry and shit. So it didn't even matter, you know, it didn't even matter. He was probably at, you know, I can't really, you know, I'm just sitting here as I say this, and there is nothing, you know, but I'm just like, wow, those fucking guys. So I think, not I think, so there was a politician that was just up and becoming in Pennsylvania. I think his name was Tom Ridge. It was Tom Ridge. You know, he kind of like got sucked into the narrative in a way that was kind of like, man, bro. So I once saw it as you were the governor of Pennsylvania, and then it went from being the governor to, I don't know what happened exactly from there, as far as like from a mechanic governmental but you went into the new Department of Homeland Security to be I don't know what title, but I remember it was announced during like he announced it, President Bush did, during like, I believe maybe State of the Union address. And the State of the Union addresses back then were fucking serious too, man. They were serious. Shoot, yeah, they were serious, man. And all respect needs to go towards President Bush, because you know, whether or not it doesn't even matter ultimately, like, you know, so how do I see it? So as all that stuff was going on, and it's over, and excuse me, you know, we've since had quite a while, in terms of being able to look back on this thing, right? And so with all that being said, man, like, so as far as being able to give Mr. Bush, President George Bush George W. Bush, HW was his dad. So anyway, I think he's gonna rank up there with being one of the best presidents that's ever. He's gonna be. I think history will be very kind to the Bush family, straight up. You know, so it's oof, it's wild to think that I know things that even the administration that was in place, like let's say the early 90s, you know, I'm not saying anything for or against, right? And to be honest with you, ultimately we're for, right? Regardless, right? And I'll speak on that more, but I can see where, like, okay, so the flow of communication back then, at least how I saw it in the early 90s, man, like, it's not what it is today, right? So today it's different. It's different. Back then in the early 90s, it was more, you know, so at least how I saw it, you know, because this is from a young kid, 6, 7 years old, moving into a brand new house that was just built, right? So inside this house, how was it set up, right? Well, it was set up with essentially what was called cable, and you know, so from there, you would get this box from, you know, the cable company, and you know, I guess I don't know how it works specifically, but from there, you get access to all these channels, and from there, you have the option to, like, pay like more money to subscribe or whatever to pay for like all the premium channels or whatever. You can pick an assortment of them. And as I say this, it makes total sense, man. That like it just is what it is, man. There's no real need to like look at it completely different than So we could say that it's cable, or it's fucking like a computer network. It's a network. It's just what's I don't know. Excuse me. So getting back to the Bush administration, man, he had it tough. I mean, and I think he handled it fucking. He did a stellar a performance worthy of a bow, straight up. And this is to say that so how the media, how were they portraying, so what kind of light were they shining on his administration? Like, what did they really go after? Well, as far as the press secretaries, I think it was Bush's first press secretary. I'm not sure of his name, right? So he was a unique looking guy, kind of short, and so maybe Ari. I think Ari's coming to mind. And there was another guy that was kind of similar to him. Anyway, they both wrote books or some shit. I don't fucking know. So the media really wasn't kind to President Bush in terms of the amount of so I've come to see them as being called gaffes. They're gaffes. So what am I saying? Well, okay, so like a presidential gaffe would be when so let's say that a president is running up the stairs to get onto a plane or his plane, and he misses a step, and he's got essentially he's trips, right? Well, that would be excuse me, that would be a gaffe. Ultimately, it would be a gaffe. And the Bush administration had tons of them, but he was able to fucking handle them in a way, man, where I still, to this day, man, I am like, so like he was on a world stage with Putin, like straight handling this shit like a fucking boss, man. His fucking, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to fucking put emphasis that it's deserved, man. He was awesome. He did a fucking awesome job, man. I got respect for him. Total respect. And I'm just gonna leave it at I got respect for his administration, for him and his administration. Enough said, man. So I say that because I don't really want to go down and so it's like there's so much. There is so fucking much. There is so much. I'll say this, right? So is it possible, man, that like whatever did, like, okay, so there was a lot of going on that day, right? And it's essentially whatever the Pentagon, whatever that thing is, there was a piece of it, there was a section of that thing that got fucking fucked up, man. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. I've never shared this with anybody except for my twin brother Jeff, man. And I don't know what that means in terms of this, being broadcast anywhere else. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the first I'm ever sharing what I'm about to say. And it's that. And hold on. So this is going, So there's probably forces out there that don't want me to say this. I'm getting scrambled. So just let me approach this carefully. Bush administration, man, those guys were badass, straight up. They were badass, man. And so under his watch, of course, we had the conflicts, man. But so I can see where, so there's a greater force out there, whatever it may be, right? And I'm saying a greater force in terms of being able to inflict violence on somebody or something or a group of things, how efficiently can they do that? And it's like, as far as I know right now, man, they're pretty good at it. And that's respect. I'm not criticizing. I'm not any of that shit, man, because I really don't even know. I honestly, truly don't even know. And it doesn't even matter because I'm still speaking forth the fact that, man, I got respect. There's no criticism here whatsoever because I can't give something criticism that I truly don't know, right? So, I mean, when I say that I don't know, I've come to see that what do we have? What does a story really have, man? And we could say a story, we could say a narrative, we could say an event, we could say fucking anything. Well, it has like certain built-in fucking characteristics, man. And that shit can be fucking spread across a bunch of shit, man. To like, man, and it's like a fucking overlay. Oh my god, it's like an overlay, man. And it's like it's like somebody's like, all right, well, here's this overlay, and this by doing this overlay, it is going to this is the course of and it's like you know so I'll say this, right? So I am not oblivious to the fact that like opiates and opioids and heroin and those types of we could say drugs, or we could just say they're pharmaceuticals, man, because ultimately that's what they are, man. They're fucking pharmaceuticals. If they can use it, we can fucking use it. It's a pharmaceutical. And what is a pharmaceutical? And I really don't even know. Because we could say that how a pharmacy and a pharmaceutical is it's different. It's different for me, and it always has been. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that I already know that the way that it's been with me, it's been different. I'm not claiming anything special. I'm just saying that I know for a fact that it was, man. All right, man. So there was some shit with the Bush deal, man, that I wanted to talk about, man, because it needs to be talked about. Oh yeah, so the opiates, right? So now I'm gonna say this, right? So it's no secret, right? So if I go back, so I'm gonna stop. So heroin, right? So how it's been presented to me, my relationship with opiates and heroin and pharmaceuticals, like, what does that look like? Well, it looks like this, right? So, I would say probably, I would say probably, I already left Ron's. I never messed with pharmaceuticals really. Like, so if I did, it was very, it was of a dose that didn't have any real, it was just waste of time, right? And so it was when I started Curry Mechanical with Jeff. And by then, I had experienced benzodiazepines. I had experienced them in a way to where they were very it was a wild euphoric type of experience. And so it's like when that stuff is going on, it's not just you that's so we could say that everything around you is affected if you were to take one of those pills or whatever. I had no idea. I had no idea. I've never even really looked at it like that. And I still don't even know. So I'm not sitting here saying that I'm some fucking expert or some, so I'm not claiming any fucking, these are just opinions, man. These are just my opinions, and it's for entertainment purposes only, man. I know everybody can appreciate that shit. Because it just is what it is, man. And, the Bush administration, the media, really hit hard on the gaffes. There was a class of our media that we could say was the media, the typical media, of the reporter sitting behind the desk, the nightly news edition, and then there's the hardcore, in-depth, like, type of underground type of news reporting. That's like the exciting aspect, and it's like, I could see where there's separate, and I'm just saying, man. I could just see where it's just a wild time, man. So the all the puts and shit on 9/11 and shit. So that gave it away right there. The market itself gave it, like, the market itself, the bookkeeping totally gave it away, and it's not gonna, So, and I think that's gonna be the defining characteristic that's going to ultimately, be our saving grace, is the fact that it's happened before, and we've been able to see it and recognize it, and essentially, when these type of anomalies take place within our societies, man, we're able to now, essentially, like, circumvent. It's a total war type of situation. I've often thought about total wars, and it's like, man, it's hard, guys. It's hard for me to fucking wrap my head around. And I'm not saying this to, because I just spoke on the Bush administration, but part of the agenda was, okay, so where and how did oh shit, Afghanistan, like, how did they fit into the mix, right? Well, I mean, essentially they just had to. They had to be, and it's like, so make it happen, and let them figure out the narrative. It's essentially what the Bush administration did. That's exactly what they fucking did. They just handled business, and they just fucking went right on. Dude, they went to work. They went back to work. Straight up. Man, it's fucking crazy. It's crazy because, I can't even guarantee, and I don't think really anybody can, that there were times where it wouldn't have been very easy for somebody to, because, okay, so I'm going to stop, and I'm going to say that President Bush, his mannerisms, man, his fucking, his like, can we say, his gait, his way of, like, his overall stature. Like, I don't know how tall that man is, man, but he's probably not that tall. But man, his overall presence, especially from the perspective of, like, watching from on a TV screen, holy shit, man, that dude was something else, man. And I'm all the respect and all the fucking, like, dude, all you guys, man. So because I'm going to get back to Afghanistan, why do I see them as something that needed to be done? And it's because, well, we're talking about, it's because international, like, the security of everything hinges on this, right? And it says, well, it's like, well, at the end of the day, do we really have to explain all that? And it's like, well, we really don't. We see this as something that we have to fucking do. We're gonna fucking do it, and whatever. Yeah. So at the time, guys, I'm saying this because it's relevant. The amount of poppy being produced over in Afghanistan was just insane. So what if this was the true narrative, the narrative that really couldn't be, okay, and it's this, right? So our intelligence community, whoever, I don't know, I have no fucking clue, and I would never even suggest that I ever would, or, it's easy to say that, our security community, or whatever, that infrastructure that is in place, it's like, where does that really come from? It's like, holy shit, man, it's just wild. It's just fucking wild, man. It's wild. You know, so there were pretty scary moments back then. Fucking ain't right, man. So I remember not too long after 9/11, like it was, you know, and I'm fucking essentially locked up for, man, that's a whole other story. And there was another plane crash, man, and it was in like a plane crash in New York, and it's just, oh my god. I remember being locked up thinking, holy fucking shit, man. Like, this is it. Fuck, that was forever ago. Anyway, man, yeah, so we had the in-depth reporters, right? And that was a very active, it was active, man. So they really had these fucking hardcore analytical breakdowns of these, you know, they were able to understand the infrastructure that was in place that allowed certain entities to communicate freely, and not only communicate freely amongst themselves, but with blatant disregard. Like, how the fuck did that happen? You know? And I was saying that's probably been a thing for quite some time, man. You know, saying it's like, do we really have to tell them? You know, so the energy that, you know, so let's say that, you know, so let's say that I've been doing this for a while. I've been trying to do something, and let's say that, you know, that was a part of the deal, right? And it's like, what do you really fucking do, man? What do you really fucking do? That would be, you know, what do you really fucking do? And it's like, so immediately thereafter, that whole experience, man, like there was some, we could say that there was just some, we could say that the legislative body got really active, you know, and it got really active, and it did so by putting into place some really hardcore, super hardcore, draconian types of legislative, like allowances. You know, it's hard to explain because I could see where just the way that I had to live my life. Not saying that I did it specifically because I didn't even really know, but it's like, so the way I lived my life really didn't. It really wasn't something that would or is ever going to be cohesive with a system that I've lived in. I didn't really know, and I don't even really know that to be true. You know, I'm just saying, like, if left unchecked, then the natural forces of the world would probably shut the fuck down. I just feel that. I don't know why I'm saying that. All right, so the Bush administration, man, the heroin deal, man. Military went in and they essentially stood guard. And from there, I don't really know. Yeah, I do know there was a conflict. There was some soldiers. There was they referred to them as the Northern Alliance. You know, and they had like really primitive type. You know, I read about them in the paper and shit, man. I didn't. It wasn't often, you know, but when I did read, you know, I was able to pick out, you know, that it was, they referred to them as the Northern Alliance, and I can see where, holy fucking shit, all they had to do was fucking print some fucking money. Alright, so they sent fucking plane loads of money. They sent plane loads of cash. And we could sit here and say cash, or we could say we just sent some pieces of paper over there that were printed to look like something. That's all it is. It's like, well, what are we talking about? Why would we have to do such a thing? Well, basically because what existed over there was a fucking hell. It was fucking hell for those people, man. It was a modern day Machiavellian nightmare with drug lords, and these were lords. These were people that were seen as ultimately lords. You know, they could do anything and everything, engage in any type of criminal activity and get away with it, regardless of who, what, where, why. That existed, and it's fucking blows my mind, man. Because it's like ultimately, if I had to, if there was a showdown, it's like, man, I'm standing firm, man. No, ain't cool with that shit. If you had a problem with it, you can come talk to me, and we can shoot the one. We can shoot the one. It's like, cash me outside. Cash me outside. All right. So after that, man, we had the Obama administration, man, and really, I didn't really, I wasn't with it. I didn't engage with any of it. Not to say that I didn't look in and see what was happening at times, a lot of times, man, but I really didn't agree with any of the policies or anything. So much so that I have no idea, I have no fucking clue with that, I do know that, like, in terms of, like, that there being a body that is able to recognize something such as a brand. Like, there's a body out there that's able to recognize a brand and actually give it a rating or a score, which, ultimately what this does is it says to the world, like, whoever was behind this they're the best, so the Obama administration, they were just that. They were the best at that. So, and it's like, okay, what's that mean, right? And when I say I kind of unplugged, my mom just walked by, spooked the shit out of me, man. Cause like, I don't know if I'm doing anything wrong, but I don't give a fuck. I wanted to share about the fucking, I want to share some politics. Share some goddamn politics. Alright, so Bush administration, man, the badass branding, whatever. Their branding, like for the campaign trail shit, man, it was on point. It's on point. Clinton's hopped in on that shit. Secretary of State, she was hardcore. Don't know much about it. I just know seeing her in front of Congress getting grilled. So, and I seen her handle it like she was the boss, man. Like, and none of it mattered. So what the fuck was the point? And I respected that whole component of it because it's ultimately like, what are you guys doing, man? Like, you guys are fucking just, it's over and over and over and over. It's like, and you guys really can't even do anything to them. Nothing. You can't do anything. There's nothing that you can do to them other than do what you do, and that's fucking talk to them. Give me a fucking break, bro. Shit. It's fucking nuts. And, oh man. So from there, we had ultimately 2 terms, and with each, so that's like 16 years, and here comes the again. So what does the political landscape really look like from there? Like, my mom's walking back by. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just kind of weird. She's got dark glasses on and shit, man. It's just spooky to me. I have my van, which is all black, tinted out. So I wouldn't imagine that she'd be able to see in here and see me right now whatsoever, even though she just walked by. I don't know what other senses like those dogs might pick up. They might bark. I don't fucking know. Alright. So what did the political landscape look like when it was time for President Trump to arrive on the scene? Alright, I'm going to share it with you, man. So, and I'll say this. I, just through observing little bits and pieces of content that were shared with me through means such as just really random channels passing by, so just, might randomly showing up in my feed. Um, fucking deer running. So, kudos to the Bush administration, but from the landscape was such that, like, Jeb Bush was now on the scene, and like, so we'll say that I'm gonna take it back to like the beginning of the campaign trail, like where it gets real tight. And, I don't know what they call it. I don't care. But as far as the actual pundits, the people on TV that are the professional pundits, the people who you know what I'm talking about, like they were totally it was like, not only are we not going to talk about Trump in any way, shape, or form, we are essentially going to go into this. I loved it. We are going to go into this essentially like his campaign doesn't even really have any type of legitimacy whatsoever. We're not going to recognize or call out or embrace any good thing about anything. Nothing. I'm not shitting you, right? And I don't really know why, and I don't care, right? So it's not. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I can see there's a divide, and I could see where, and ultimately, my loyalty, it is where it is, and so Trump. Okay, so why was it important? Why was it? It was not only important that he became the president. It was necessary. It had to happen. If it didn't happen, I can't say for sure what this thing would look like right now, because the political landscape at the time, when I say, like, we had powerhouses with, the first Bush administration, well, we could say that whatever and whoever is going to have that same type of ability just amplified, man, because they're being able to like refine and enhance, and it's good stuff, right? I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm gonna slow down so I can kind of collect my thoughts on this, but there were some big players in the game, right? And I could see where to get on this level, right, to get on that type of stage, right, to be able to get there in the first place, man, I don't even know. It would take a lifetime of commitment. A lifetime of commitment to get there. Straight up, that's how I see it. And, why was it necessary? Because I can see where if it wasn't going to be President Trump, then that would have meant that it was going to be another it was so the Democratic Party or whatever. I seen it as we could not afford to do it. We couldn't. We couldn't sustain it, man. We didn't have enough. I don't know what. I just didn't feel good about it, right? So I had already. So when the election started to build, and I could see that President Trump was holding his own in the camp in the fucking in the debates, right? So the debates back then were prime time, man. They were fucking prime time. They were prime time for Trump, man. And he handled them with such fucking finesse, man. He fucking whipped each and every one. I'm sorry to say it, man, but he fucking whipped each and every one of their fucking asses. He handed each and every one of their own asses to them on a fucking platter. Shut them down immediately. Immediately. He took every single one of them out at the knees and incapacitated each and every single one of them. Baby Jeb. He's like, okay, this is how you guys are gonna fucking play? Well, I can play the same fucking way, right? So you're not even gonna recognize anything, right? So, okay. Well, I'm going to refer to you as Baby Jeb, and that's all I know you as, Baby Jeb. So every time Jeb Bush would open his mouth, man, to speak. And it got to be where they started pulling these cards, these gentleman type cards, man. Like, how dare you? And I'm like, yes. So, man, I'll give I loved each and every minute of it, man. I was fucking for it. I loved it. I tried to ride with I tried to ride so if I could give whatever he had going on there my time, I did, man. I tried to watch as much as I can, and I'm not saying that I watched a lot, man. I'm just saying that I was really in tune with so he had some and he even came to a rally so I wasn't sure where I was at that specific time, but my stepdad went to it and saw him, so it was where I had essentially grown up. He spoke right across the street from me as well, man. Pro-Trump, I seen it as an absolute it was a necessity to our survival. I just felt that way. I didn't speak that. I didn't, share those thoughts with anybody because I just seen it as not, with that being said, like, it wasn't something that every single person around me also, co-signed. It was the opposite, man. So I never talked about it because essentially I was out doing business, and my clientele, whoever they may be, I could see where it wasn't in my best interest to, to invite value to the relationship by talking about Trump's policies, because I come to see where, you guys don't even know what policy is. You don't even know what policy is, right? So you don't know what policy is. You don't even know why we even have such a thing called policy. There's none of that being brought to the table. It's just absolute sheer criticism based on obscure things, man. So I'll give it to Trump. It also had to be somebody of his stature and caliber of, essentially, to be able to plow right through all of that shit, man. So he had to go through some fucking powerful goddamn people, man. I already know it. So I'll tell you this, right? And I felt for him, man. I'll say, because I could see it. I could see his face. I could see the features. I could see his sweat building. And that was a fucking... Okay, so when he got narrowed in with Hillary, right? So now keep in mind, man. And I don't care, right? So it's just facts, right? Hillary was under investigation by all kinds of fucking agencies. I'll say that every fucking single government agency on the planet was probably investigating Hillary Clinton, this person who is essentially the Democratic nominee for the President of the United States. She is, she was able to maneuver herself politically. I can't speak on it really because I don't know. I'm just saying that this is what was coming out, and it's like, whoa. And and that rubbed me wrong. I didn't like that. I didn't like that somebody was able to essentially get all the way to the end of something as vigorous as the campaign trail just on some type of merit that I didn't know anything about. Like, I don't even know anything about it. It can't resonate with me because I don't know anything about what's going on here, man. I know what the narrative has suggested to me, but I truly don't know, man. So it's like, because there's some radical type shit, man. like the killing of Omar Gaddafi. I've seen him he wasn't a bad guy. Like, I don't know him, and I don't know anything about him really. I just say that there has been speech that has been spoken to me, and that has suggested to me that he was for his people. And you can't really ask much more of that from somebody who's there to lead. I mean, really, what the fuck, man? And it's like, so there is really ultimately no place for you to even interject any of your opinions unless it's going to affect the security of, us, right? So when I say that there was the opium, right? So I see it as, holy shit, our intelligence community stumbled onto this thing that is massive, and it exists entirely to take us out, right? Because to take us out, we're there are walls in place to prevent that from happening, and I could see where we exist, essentially, basically on this wall. That there's been a lot of attempts to try to, take over and by whatever means. Yeah, the Trump administration, he was a fucking boss, man, straight up boss. And I say this, when it came to the rallies and his speeches, right? So he did a good job, man, and I know he did a good job because he had the wherewithal to fucking commit himself to. Like, he was doing speeches every single day. Every fucking day, man. Every fucking day. In and day out. Dude is doing a speech. But we could say he was doing a speech or he was the main character of this spectacle, man. This spectacle. This thing. It was like, man, I was like, hell yeah. Let me say this, right? So I'm gonna get back to, okay. So there was the debate between him and Hillary, right? So I'll get this. So I saw this right away, and this was an anomaly right away, and I'm saying that this isn't going to be an authentic debate because there's too much interest involved. There can't be. There's so much interest that's potentially on the table right here and now that I don't even fucking know. And I say that because, with Trump being on the side of the Republican side, their color essentially is red, right? And the Democrats are blue. And so, the common attire for somebody of that stature, Mr. Trump, President Trump, is just a suit and tie of nice quality, nothing of really finesse and, too vibrant, and there's really subtle, there's a blend, and it's totally appropriate. He knows what I'm talking about. And he was wearing a blue tie, a tie that to me resembled the characteristics that came with somebody from the side of a Democrat. Not to take anything away or against, I'm just saying this is what's being broadcast over the airwaves, right? And all the while Hillary, what is she with? So she's wearing the red, man. Fuck. She was wearing red, and it's like, all right, your guys' colors are fucking flipped. And I don't know if that was a thing whatsoever, but I can say, like, there were tense moments, man, and I just think that Trump did a phenomenal fucking job. He did a phenomenal job, man. Because she was a powerhouse, man. So she okay, so where I speak on this, like, they were powerhouses, man. They were the best who's probably ever going to be on that stage, and I don't think there would be probably too many to follow and that can fit the footprints, man. I'm saying it was crazy, man. So you can tell that Hillary acts, right? So you can tell. Her mannerisms suggest, to me anyway, that she is totally acting out a role. And, to me, that's okay. Like, if that's how you have to do it, to me, that makes you more of a human being than somebody who goes about it more of a maniacal way. Like, to me, that's like, hey, you guys are wild. You guys are wild. Man, shoo, fuck, man. You guys are wild. Oh man, so um, uh, what came from that debate? Well, she happened to interject somewhere along the storyline with the infiltration of Russian espionage that was here to influence our election. And it's like, you know what? If you really get down to like think, that's totally acceptable. That's totally acceptable. Why would it not be? Why would it not be in another nation their best interest for them to have, it's totally acceptable to me that, that would be the case, right? So, and I'm not saying for or against. I'm just saying, like, to me, it's reasonable. Straight the fuck up. And I'm just gonna chill. She brought in the narrative, right? And I didn't necessarily agree with it, and I was upset, man, because I had already known what that was going to do. I known that that was going to consume the fucking conversation for the next fucking forever, and it's going to be pointless, and it's going to be a complete waste of time. But yet, we just spent millions and billions of dollars into trying to figure out what the fuck just happened, all the while to achieve essentially nothing. It's pointless. So there was frustration that I was hit with when that happened. So when she interjected with the Russia thing, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, right? Because I've been, okay, so as far as the media coverage goes, with anything to do with the election run up, if there was any change in the fucking the gauge whatsoever, I knew about it. And I probably knew about it before the correspondents knew about it, the ones that were reporting it, because I'm watching the shit. And you guys didn't even want to recognize his existence, so you didn't watch him. In fact, the camera guys, right? So Trump, he would, I could see where, because I do it too sometimes, and sometimes it's a subconscious element of our being, of having to be essentially in a hostile environment. We do things essentially for protection, and I could see where when Trump speaks this way, it's almost like he's navigating very carefully. And what is he navigating? Well, he's navigating this this thing that has the ability to send out these tentacles, man, and just pull it in and just like look at it and threaten it, and it's like so. Russia, I didn't buy into the narrative, so much so that I interjected at times with my own viewpoint on it to say this, that, you know what, my reality as far as like influence at the time for me, like, where did that come from? Well, it came from Canada. I'm not shitting you. This particular perspective that I aligned myself with was totally of Canadian creation. I'm not shitting you. And that's to say that nobody had any involvement into anything. It's just at the time there were, so these were private channels that were huge. Like, so Stefan Molyneux. I was not truth something, like, he was a I could say this, right? I seen him at the time as a modern day philosopher. That's all it was, man. To tout myself with that title, would I do that? No, never. It's like, it doesn't resonate. But I could see where I was okay with giving that label to this particular person, although he's a Canadian. Although he resides in this place called Canada, I'm okay with saying, man, that I like this guy's point of view. And this guy's, what he's not only what he's bringing to the table, because it's almost irrelevant, it just makes the most sense in terms of trying to create something that's better. I just thought really ultimately that was the idea behind it all. And it's a lot more complex, of course. But yeah, so Trump just handled himself like a boss, man. And his shit was packed. His shit was packed. Everything was packed. They were wall to wall. Now, okay, so did his rallies get to where there was some violence and stuff? And I'll say, of course, and it had nothing to do with any of the Trump supporters themselves. It was an infiltration. It was a political espionage. It was politics in in this particular political climate that was locked into a fucking fight, good versus evil. And I seen it as just that, which meant that in order to fight this evil, it couldn't have been the same thing that created it. I just knew that to be the case, and it's like, oh, what does that mean? Well, that means, we have to have somebody else, and it's like, well, okay, what do you mean somebody else? Well, we have to have somebody else that's okay with doing things a little bit different, because he has to be okay with it, because essentially it could be somewhat challenging to do so, just because of the current support, which there's none. There's absolutely none. There's none. And I don't even talk about it, because I don't even see it as there's value for me to talk about anything political. I don't share any of that shit, man. I already know. It's just a waste of time. I don't do it. But I'll say, so right now, how do I see it? I see it as it's going good, man. I like this, man. I like our press secretary. I like her style, and she comes with some style, man. I like that. I'm not saying any of this to suggest that I'm any type of fucking, I don't know what the makeup of a press secretary looks like. I'll just say that I like what she's doing, man. I like the education aspect to it, I like the openness. I heard some just good stuff, man. I heard some stuff that it's like, we could say that there was a narrative in place, and is that still true to be the case? And it's like, well, you know what? No. I mean, essentially, there's got to be a tipping point, and whether or not we've gotten there yet, we know about it, man, and that's enough for us to retain this willpower. Otherwise, man, the forces out there that are, opposing, it's wild, man. It's wild, right? So that the YouTube landscape during all of that, there were essentially these things that were forming, these particular points of view. And essentially you had these crybaby type people that would group up, and they were one side of it, and and then you had the people on the other side that were rational. They were able to come to the table with rational, debating type, common sense type shit, man. It was like, okay, where am I going to go with this? Am I going to go towards, so they're more engaged towards responding to the body politic by engaging with things that often come with it, like feelings enhancement. They're targeting your feelings, or your overall well-being based around how you feel. How you feel, man? You feel fucking good about what's going on? And it's like, well, that's gonna be dictated by whatever whatever they fucking tell you, right? So, I just seen it as, basically the Republicans. To be a Republican means that you hold these values to be true, and to me, ultimately, a Republican form of government is guaranteed to me. Now, we could say a Republican form of government is guaranteed to me, or what is it? It's like, it could be anything. Like, a Republican form of government is, it's kind of scary all in itself, because I don't even think we really know what that would look like. And I'm not even saying that like I approve with the idea of having a democracy, like a democracy to me all in itself, through ideological means is very destructive in nature. It is destruction itself. It's the representation of like negative wealth, the antithesis of wealth. And it just so happens that throughout evolutionary fucking natural circumstances, this is what we've been given. This is the machine. This is the inner workings. It is what it is. We can see that this is something that we are being fucking essentially, and we are being inherited. This thing. This thing is it's being inherited. We're inheriting it. We're inherit. It's like it's to take on something bigger than oneself, and it's all really that it is, man. And there's something to be said behind the people that embark on the journeys, man, that come with this place. And I could see where again, man, like Canada had a big fucking. So to even say that Russia, it's like, okay, well, they probably do try to influence our election. Like, is that even what influence is? Because can you influence by educating? I look at it like, man, it was just a sheer fucking. They took me up a couple notches, man, in my overall. And who? Well, okay, so those YouTube channels back then got to be fucking huge, right? Now I'm not talking about the ones that were taken. Like those precede this particular time. The channels that were taken, they go back even further. I'm gonna get to them and talk about them because I still remember them. So this time, what was happening was. So it was like the Republican. It was like a revolution. These ideas are being tossed around that just make sense. Like to see it in any other way, it to me is to have a disorder. You're essentially you have there's something wrong with you because how can you not approve of this because there's no other rational way to see it. So to see it and try to argue with it's like so there has to be another component to this thing that I'm just not really focused on or haven't been. I'm not seeing that is at play here within this entire relationship, man. That's not. Of course there is. I'm not gonna fucking kid the fact that I don't know that to be true, man. And so I'll say with that debate, man, I just seen it on Trump's face, man. His nervousness. Prior to the lead up, man, because it was almost like they just had to be really careful in some of the things that they said, or they could have essentially kicked off, some serious type conflicts and shit, man. Like that's how it was at that time, Essentially, she was on that fucking man. So her debating or her campaigning style. Oh, it's so gross. It was so gross. Like they manufactured a lot of their content from scratch through any means necessary. Well, whether they would manipulate the cameras into making it seem like there were more people at their rallies or their events than there actually was. And then it got to be where they're CGI-ing, the stuff, and we know that I could see it. And like there was all kinds of shit going on, right? And I knew that Trump didn't do it. The Trump administration did not engage in any of those type of devious type of practices. Everything was legitimate in terms of the people that were standing behind him, man. It was fucking awesome. I loved it, right? So this happened. Okay, so we're talking. Okay, so we're gonna run through the Trump administration, the first one, right? So there wasn't a lot happening. We had COVID, all that bullshit. People had to deal with. There's players all in that, and it's all fucking shady shit. But I'm gonna just go through it and. Okay, so we're going to go to the next election now cycle, which is, the front runner is the Biden administration and the Trump administration, right? And it's like, well, okay, so so me as a conscious, aware observer, how did I see the politicals? Like, who's like, what's going on here? Right? All judgment aside, this was my reality, and it was that the movement that was in place for President Trump was on a scale far beyond what was here for the Biden administration. The Biden administration was essentially so those ideological front runnings came from within the political atmosphere itself. So it was just like this weird. It's not. It none like everything is blah. So like it just when I say blah, like it gets to where the logos are tacky. The fucking pettiness of it all becomes so blatantly distasteful, man, that I can't even stomach watching the shit, man. That's where it was getting, and I'm talking about major politicians. It's just, I can see where, it might even been in their best interest to adopt these types of stances, and with these stances, I'm also going to bring with it these emotions, regardless. It's like, fuck, man. What do we have now? We have this goddamn okay, so it will go down in as being the biggest psychological operation to ever take place through the history of mankind. The most expensive, the most consuming, the most dangerous. It's going down right now. So much shit, really it is. So when it was announced that Trump lost that election, man, I was salty. And I was salty. What did that really look like? Well, I just, carried on about my business. I went to work every day. I watched, it changed my clicking, right? So I went in immediately to see what was going on, because my perspective, man, I could hop in on cameras essentially. I'm not shitting you, so every spot would have public cameras in place, man, and there'd be feeds all over the fucking place. I'd hop in there, and you could hop in a feed, whether or not this feed was really even active or not, it didn't matter. I mean, you could just get an idea of what was going on. And, you do that a couple times throughout this fucking thing. You hop into a couple opposing, mainstream things. You can just really get an idea of what the fuck is going on, right? And, so immediately the Trump administration goes into what we're going to go into we're going to gear up the legal machine. We're going to get that thing going. And, essentially, I feel like that was a poor choice, because it's like you're going up against this thing that's, it can make up the rules as it goes. It's just there as a means to take shit out, and it's not even. I don't see it as being legitimate. I'm sorry. So much so that it's removed itself from our, from the discussion. It really has. It has removed itself from all of the monotony that's going on, right? So like with so with the way that they hand out diplomatic immunity now, right? So, not diplomatic, but qualified immunity. It's based on, it got to be where it's like, what, people, right? I know we're here for you guys. It's like, but unless, unless you guys start handling your affairs amongst yourself, amongst men, or, we're going to have to see to it that we really can't get involved with your guys' shit anymore, man, because, our calculations essentially tell us, man, that, based on, the amount of, energy, time, the last 1,000, we should have surpassed, the critical flux in, it's like, we should have achieved that a long time ago, man. So what the fuck is going on now? And so I'm going to get back to saying, like, what was going on during then. Well, man, there was all this hate going on for the Biden administration because it's like I didn't see where they had any kind of political impact whatsoever based on their campaign trail. Their news coverage was, it's not the greatest. He hopped in late. It was just a fiasco as far as I was concerned. And so from there, by going into those feeds, man, I could see that holy fucking shit. Right, so you got the Biden the campaign, the Biden campaign. What does it look like? Well, it's a bus and some vehicles, man. Essentially, they're just running across the country and shit. Well, what was trailing? So you had the Biden all lettered up, geared up, fucking branded up, fucking this brand just running down the highway, and then behind it was just Trump supporters, man, with flags that were hanging out of the back of their fucking trucks with their shotguns in the back. It was wild, man. It was wild. There was a fucking, okay, so we could say like what there was. There was an entire train of vehicles, man, that positioned themselves essentially around that whole campaign, and it was just funny as fuck. It was, to me, comical. I was like, yes, man. Guys, that shit's funny. It's awesome. It's awesome because that's what we would do. Of course we would. Why wouldn't we? Yeah, I don't know. So I'm gonna chill out on my criticism. I'll say that, man, there's a lot that goes on that I have no idea, and I already know like where we're at now. I can see where, so Trump, the pivotal role that I see where he's playing is he is allowing a more. So we could say that I'm just like a farmer type fucking like a guy, right? But yet I have a good firm understanding on the inner mechanisms of politics. Right? I just feel like I do. And it's like, well, if I do, I mean, so what does that mean for somebody else, man? Like our current press secretary. She's really vibrant. I like her, man. Excuse me, my mouth is dry. But anyway, I just really want to say that, man, because she's the face of the administration, and I just think she's doing a great fucking job, man. I like it. I like it so much so that it's compelled me to talk, about this particular thing for an hour and 17 minutes, and I know it's probably not conducive towards my overall conditional acceptance. Oh man, I'll say that, man. How do I see President Trump? Well, man, I like him. I really always have, man. I've liked every real thing he stood for. He's always brought with it this sense of pride. To me, he exuded pride. And it's like, well, what did that really look like? Well, we could say he exuded pride, or we could say that he was so I can see where society molded him in a way to where he has been able to acquire skills just through expressing his overall existence. Like, he influences just by moving. It's awesome, and it's awesome because I like how I just like how he talks, man. Excuse me. I like how he is not. There's a lot of sharing, man. There's a lot of sharing, and he shares across a vast array of topics, man, that I don't think any other particular. So whatever, there's nobody any more qualified to do so. Straight up, there. It's like, if you're gonna really so if you're gonna, it's like, well, like, if you were to see it as that, and I know there's metrics behind this shit, there's no argument, man. Like, he was needed. He is needed, and I stand behind him, straight up. I do, and I will, and I would never, under any circumstance, regardless of any possible, like, any, let's say that, it doesn't matter, and I'm saying this because I'm saying that there is absolutely nothing that could change. Like, I would never disrespect him on a never. I would never express my disdain, my I would never express that, um, because to do so would be unpatriotic. Like, you know, this is humanity fighting for humanity itself. At the end of the fucking day, it's like, for you to be on the opposing side of that, it makes me want to fight you. I'm not shitting you, man. It makes me fucking like start to get really upset. And what satisfies the potential buildup of aggression is for me to tell myself that, you know what, it's okay. Like, it's like, if it came down to shooting the one, what would happen? Of course, you already know. And it wouldn't even ever have to come to such a thing, because I've come to see where there's really no discord that could again take away from my overall, how I would ever, I like him. I like everything they stand for. I like everything they stand for. His entire family. I like the stature of the way that his son carries himself. I love the reserved aspect. I love it. But yet I love it how he's in the spotlight. There is a self-prescribed reservation. There's a good person that's being molded in the making, and he's being molded on a platform, man, that's up there with the elites, man, and I love that shit. I do, because I see it as being something necessary for us to continue to thrive, man. Because ultimately, that's what we want to fucking do. We all want to thrive, man. We do. When I speak like I just did, I don't know. To me, it's not about. I would never attack somebody's character either. Like, if I was on the campaign, if I was an advisor or whatever, I would never take that approach. I'm sure that I would be overruled and objectified in a way to where I would be probably crowded out as an advisory type of, because I would refuse to take that type of stance, man, to where I'm bringing with it negative content to promote my ideas. It's like, it doesn't work, man. It's nasty shit. It eats up a lot of money. I see all that money. It's millions of dollars, man. It's like, you guys are fucking stupid, man. Millions of fucking dollars and shit. Fuck. I don't know. So if I got some vehicles coming, man, I'm gonna let them pass, and then I'm gonna just put this up, man. Again, I don't know. I think everybody's fucking doing a good job, and I don't even know that to be true. I just feel it. And it's not even that my opinion matters, because it really doesn't. Because I'm just a guy talking into my phone, tired, with a dry mouth. He was simply probably should have stopped talking a long time ago. And it's about 1,000 degrees where I'm at, and Alright, I'm out later.